So this past weekend, I went to my friend's house. My friend Orr, he lives here in Delray.
Orin?
O-R,
Got it.
like gold. And his parents were in town from Israel. They live just outside of Tel Aviv. And I haven't seen his parents since, ironically, 2014 when I was in Israel for Orr's wedding. So I'm talking to the parents. I was with my mom. We were all catching up. It was a family barbecue. It was his daughter's fourth birthday. We had a nice time. And the father, his name is Eric. I said, dude, what is going on here? Like, let me hear it from your perspective. You got out. How did you even get out? Like, meaning, he goes, we flew out the day the fighting started, ironically enough. So he's been out, been watching all this. And I said, break this down for me of what's going on. And here's a couple of things that we discussed. So number one, I think it's important to understand this is not a religious war. This isn't like, you're Jewish, I'll kill you. You're Arabic, you're Muslim, I'll kill you. This is a pure land situation. And people say, well, this fighting goes back thousands and thousands of years. Well, it's actually not true. It actually just goes back a couple hundred years because this had happened with the Ottoman Empire in the 18th, 19th century, right before World War One. And then the British Empire, they came in and they were divvying up the land. And they promised this,
half
promised
Jewish,
that,
half Saudi Arabia,
half this, half
Muslim,
that.
Christian, Muslim, Jewish.
So ultimately what happened was in 1947, Israel became a state. In 1948, they gave them their land, and there was a full-on war. And Israel, luckily for them, they won the war in 1948. They won the Six-Day War in 1967. They won the other war. Like, what happens in war? You won the war. You take the land. And essentially what has happened is every so often there's been deals that they've tried to cut. And Israel has I actually saw this on Prager University, pretty trusted source, I would say. They did a expose on this. They said Israel has tried to make peace and compromise, and they've given them 95% of the land. And every time, without fail, the PLO, whether under Yasser Arafat or the Hamas, has rejected the deal. So ultimately, there's a couple different angles here. In Israel, there's definitely two factions. There's the Bibi Netanyahu, who's basically fighting for his political life and is an instigator of sorts. And then there's more the liberal side of Israel that they would like to coexist. But then there's parts of Hamas or Palestine where they genuinely just want to have a nice life to raise their kids and live in peace. And they have a major bone to pick with Israel that they're not allowing them to live their best life. And then there's the people who are, all they see is red. And Israel doesn't have a right to exist. And it's something called the three no's. No, they don't have a right to exist. No, they don't have a right to the land. No, they don't have the right to live in peace. And
that's Hamas, isn't
yes,
it?
exactly. With that mentality, how are you supposed to coexist with someone that doesn't have believe in your right to exist, doesn't believe that it's your land? Israel's not going anywhere. They've won every single war. They've given up land. They've given up the Golan Heights. They've given up the Sinai Peninsula. They've given up land on the Jordan side of the river. And there's no agreement that some Palestinians will ever agree to unless Israel leaves the land, and which they're not going to do. So thank God that at least Israel has this Iron Dome situation going on. Because can you imagine if someone's firing 5,000 rockets and they all hit civilians? So because they have this amazing technology and they're basically shooting down 95% of missiles, which means dozens of missiles still land on innocent people. Could you imagine what would be happening in Israel if those missiles actually did land?
Well, they would have ended the war a lot quicker, probably.
But I will say one thing, and it sounds like I'm defending Israel, and obviously I'm a little biased here, being Jewish and have family in Israel. I will say that on one of the holiest days of Ramadan, there's the Dome of the Rock. Bibi Netanyahu set troops in and dismantled Muslims praying near the Dome of the Rock in East Jerusalem on Ramadan, one of the holy, so even him, my friend's dad, was like, this is unacceptable. This is ridiculous. You can't do this. This is holiest day of year for the Muslims. This is bullshit. So you're talking about an Israeli who's basically saying, Bibi Netanyahu, what the hell are you thinking? So it's such a gray area. There's no black and white here. But the last thing that I'll say is this, and I'll turn it over to you, BBD. He did say the one difference between Israelis and a certain portion of Hamas, Palestinians, what you call it, is the respect for life. There's no Israeli suicide bombers. There are a lot of people in that world that basically believe in giving up their life and don't have a respect for life and are willing to blow themselves up. And what type of person is willing to do that? Ask yourself that question. Who's willing to just blow themselves up for a cause? And it's not religious. It's socioeconomic. It's land. It's political. And that was his biggest takeaway. Even though he was defending.
By the way, very good commentary, Adam. That was very helpful. And the way you did it, I appreciate that. The way you